What's good, people? Welcome back to London Boy Podcast. It's your host, Vinny, and I'm back with another episode. Um, Today, I've got my good friend, Joaquim. Joaquim, what's going on, my friend? Are you alright?
Good. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for inviting me on the show, Vincenzo.
That's alright, man. What do you think of the content so far from what you've seen?
It's been really good, really, like getting opinions from all loads of different people as well and from different places. So
D-
yeah, I did see a last one, I think, wasn't it, from Jamal? So that one was quite good as well.
Yeah,
So yeah,
what's the favourite one that you've seen so far?
it's probably going to be the first financial sort of
Financial
freedom
freedom.
video, yeah, which
Yeah.
was really interesting to be honest and hit quite close to home as well.
Course,
So yeah,
and funny you mention that because the topic of today is financial freedom part two, and
yeah,
but this time the sub sort of title would be starting from scratch, and the reason why I want to do the part two about starting from scratch is because the first one, like you hear like the golden nuggets of what you need to do, what the financially free do, like what how they think, basically the fundamentals, but it doesn't really tell you you what the steps, it
yeah,
basically
the
tells
nuts
you,
and
yeah,
bolts, isn't it?
it tells you the theory, do x y z, but if you don't have the money to do it, it's basically hot air.
Yeah, yeah, definitely agree with you there.
So before we get into it, you want to introduce yourself, tell the viewers like how we know each other and what you do for a living and that sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah, sounds good. I'll try to keep it as short as possible.
Sure.
And yeah, so let's start with my name. So my name is Joaquim.
Mm.
So just to give all the viewers a bit of context, I was born in India, in Goa,
Yeah.
which is sort of on the west coast of India.
Mm.
So it's a small estate, and I
Yeah.
sort of lived. I was born there, and I sort of lived there since I was like 10 years old.
Mm.
And lifestyle over there was quite different from my life here in the UK. As you can imagine, there's no broadband over there. There's no phone services or anything
Yeah.
like that.
So basically, all of the things that are considered essential here, basically.
Essential, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You'll be
Yeah.
lucky if you even manage to get a phone call through.
Mm.
And everyone just uses landline, so it's
Yeah.
pretty much a jungle, to be honest.
Mm.
So yeah, and not much has changed as well recently. So yeah, it's a lifestyle that's completely different. So it
So,
was
of
definitely like a big transition when I moved here across to the UK.
course,
So
yeah. So how
yeah,
did we meet each other? So you moved here.
yeah. So I moved here like in 2005, and I moved to St. Aloysius Primary School. That's where I sort of met you.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was quite a sort of different experience to like moving from sort of India to the UK.
Yeah.
And I think that was like the first time I sort of met different types of people. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how racist this is going to be sound, but there's not a lot of diversity back in India. So
Mm.
I only ever seen sort of white, black, or Chinese people on TVs.
Yeah.
So it's quite a different experience.
So it's
Definitely coming to
interesting. Obviously, we were from London. Like we grew up in
yeah,
London, and so I bet you it's a bit surreal seeing people from literally
yeah.
all walks of life.
For life, yeah,
Yeah.
because London is one of the most diverse cities in the world, isn't it?
Mm.
So, so definitely a big change, and like English wasn't my first language as well,
Yeah.
so communication was quite tricky as well. So it was definitely a sort of a different experience coming to the UK. But yeah, I mean, just to fast forward later, me and Vincenzo so went primary school there,
Mm.
and it was one of my few friends I had back in primary school since language wasn't my sort of my primary communications English. So
Yeah.
I sort of managed to get to know Vincenzo. Then we sort of moved to secondary school together. We went to the same school there, which was
Mm.
sort of probably a good decision now that I think back on it. I'm
Mm.
glad I didn't go to any other school.
Why
And
is that?
secondary,
Why is that?
I was going to touch on that a bit later when I
Yeah,
finished my
sure
sixth
thing.
form
Yeah.
and to say how things went completely downhill
Mm.
because of what I didn't realize why going to, like to sort of like going to school with their friends was like really important as well when it comes to like opening up and building
100%.
confidence. And yeah, so where was I? So yeah, me and Vincenzo went to the same secondary school. That's where I sort of like opened up and built some confidence in myself.
Yeah.
And yeah, secondary school was quite interesting as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Definitely,
very interesting. Yeah.
definitely a lot of drama. Definitely like loads of life lessons learned as well.
Mm.
Quite interesting. Met different people. It definitely was quite competitive as well for me, at least for my side of things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when it comes to studying and stuff like that, just your normal sort of day to day things you do as a kid. And yeah, it was really interesting. And yeah, so a few years down the line, I think, oh yeah, we sort of lived in Camden together, isn't it?
Yeah, we literally went to the same primary school, lived in the
Yeah,
same area, Camden Town,
true.
and went to the same secondary school.
Same secondary school
Yeah.
as well. So yeah, I mean, I think by now we've known each other what for 15 or 14 years now, isn't it?
I think it's approaching 15 years now.
Yeah, pretty much, isn't it? So we've known each other for quite a long time. So
Yeah.
oh yeah, and where I was going with the story. Oh yeah, so yeah, somewhere in the middle of it, I eventually sort of moved out of London. Well,
Mm.
moved out as in I moved to the suburbs of London, right at the end. So London is basically made out of 6 zones,
Yeah.
and we were sort of living in sort of zone 2, which is the heart of the city.
Mm.
And I sort of ended up moving all the way to zone 6, which is around the outskirts of London.
Yep.
And needless to say, the commute was a bit of a pain coming to
Mm.
school, especially when you're doing your GCSEs and stuff like that.
Of course.
But it's somehow worked for me, and I managed to come out with decent GCSE grades and everything.
Mm.
And yeah, I think by the end of sort of secondary school, I was sort of overconfident, if I have to say, in terms of my grades and
Of
stuff like
course.
that.
You got good
Which sort of
GCSEs and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, which sort of led to my downfall when it came around to choosing what sixth form I wanted to go to.
And why is that?
So so basically, once I moved to Feltham, of course, I'm not going to travel all the way to the city centre for my college as well. So
Mm.
I decided to go somewhere close by, but I also, because I had good grades, I sort of inadvertently thought that I needed to go to a good school.
Yeah.
And considering that most of my friends lived in the city centre, I mean, whichever school I go to, I probably wouldn't know anyone there.
Mm.
And back then, I didn't think that this was a big issue.
Yeah.
But when you do sort of find out when you go to a new school and you don't know anyone there, it's very difficult to connect with people,
Definitely.
especially if they're from a different social background as well.
Different walks of life.
Yeah. So to sort of short story short, I went to a grammar school, a very posh one at that, in Surrey, in Egham, and people there were walked in a completely different way of life than I did. I mean, they're completely from a different social and economic background than I came from.
Yeah.
And just to summarize, like everyone over there was sort of what you say, upper class.
Upper class, up the upper echelon, basically.
Yeah. So every sort of student there would probably be a son or a daughter of a sort of a company or a business, or from a famous businessman, scientist, or their parents were basically a professional standard.
Yeah, earning six figures and whatnot.
Yeah, as a minimum,
As a minimum.
They would probably be driving around fancy cars while I'll be just walking to school.
You saw like 17-year-old kids driving around in a BMW, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And of course, for me, this was completely different from the secondary school experience I got.
Yeah.
Where everyone used to just go by bus to
Of course.
school.
And
they didn't have parents picking them up or anything like that.
Yeah. And let me sort of paint the listeners a picture. So our secondary school was in Islington. Obviously, it was very diverse. We didn't really have, obviously, you never know who's sort of rich, but we didn't have many rich people in our school. Everyone was sort of like, in a way, humble. You know, everyone was sort of from a sort of struggle. Like, and a lot.
They were easy to get along with as well, isn't it?
And easy to get along with because there weren't no sort of social, economic differences, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you went from that to a place where everyone's pretty much posh. They've sort of lived in a way, they've lived in a bit of a warped reality. They haven't really seen the real world.
Yeah.
You want to put it that way.
Yeah. So, it was very difficult to communicate with those sort of people and sort of build bridges and friendships with them. And I didn't realize, but being by yourself in that sort of environment is very challenging,
Yeah.
and it sort of affected me in terms of like commitments and motivations.
Yeah.
And I went from straight from an A grade student to basically sort of failing college altogether.
Yeah.
So yeah, so my experience in 2 years over there wasn't the best,
Of course.
and I didn't exactly do really well in college as well. And inadvertently, that sort of led to me not going to uni as well because I sort of lost confidence in myself again from
What
when I
so
sort of went to secondary school.
so that sort of
Yep.
thing, so being in that environment, it basically put you off education.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm.
And like when I was in secondary school, I was thinking like I'll make big things, isn't it? I'll go to college, get amazing grades, and then go to a top university, something like that.
Yeah.
But that college environment just threw me off completely and made me see the world in a different way that I
Yeah.
never saw before.
Yeah.
Basically, I saw different parts of society that I never thought existed.
Mm.
And that sort of really opened my eyes. And I think that sort of led me to go away from the university route and
Yeah.
go try something different. So I was sort of fortunate enough to get like an apprenticeship within government.
Mm.
And that's how it sort of led me into sort of joining the civil service in the UK and sort of landing myself like a decent job. And yeah, that's sort of where it brings me now, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, man, definitely. And to be completely honest with you, when I think of, you sometimes I like to sit back and analyze, and when you think of like someone that's self-made or like a success story,
Yeah.
like I know, like with the industry I'm in and the people I know now, and I know quite a lot of like people doing well to say the least. But when I really think of somebody that's self-made and has come a long way, like you're probably
Yeah.
one of the first people that come up in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like in terms of sort of getting to the financial freedom, as you guess, it
Mm,
requires a lot of hard work and opportunity, but it's very difficult for people to sort of build them that up themselves. Most
exactly.
people that I sort of know have sort of given that to them,
So they have
and
so
that's
they have some sort of they have a strong foundation, so to speak.
yeah,
Yeah.
so basically, if you put the whole population of this country down to 100 people,
Yeah.
99 of them would probably not have that sort of financial freedom given to them,
So they
and
wouldn't have
just
that strong foundation to build on,
yeah.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and those 99 people would have to sort of work hard to sort of achieve that level of freedom.
Mm,
Whilst the other 1%, they would have received it when they were just born into the
yeah.
family, isn't it?
And,
So
the,
probably
and
like being, yeah,
so a lot of people in your sixth form were basically part of that 1%.
yeah, most of them were
Yeah.
part of the 1%, if not all of them.
Mm,
So they were basically born into wealthy families, or they were born with like, parents who have good connections and networks, so they can easily start their business.
mm,
And basically they had the what you would call a silver spoon or a golden spoon in life.
more like
And
golden
not
spoon
everyone,
in that case.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and not everyone's sort of fortunate to sort of get that. So yeah, but no one can blame where they were born or what time they were born or who they were born with.
Yeah.
But yeah, all you can do is sort of work hard to improve yourself, isn't it, and sort of get a better quality of life.
Of course. And so like, how long have you been like in this job position you're in now?
So it was like 2 years as an apprenticeship, and then finally 3 years into the role. And within like Department of Work and Pension. And yeah, it's like a HR role in recruitment.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting, but I'm sort of looking out to sort of branch out into like project management and sort of been applying to other roles as well, trying to get
Mm.
that promotion and sort of build towards getting that financial freedom later
So
down the line.
so it's safe to say, man, you in the last 5 years you've come a really long way.
Yeah, definitely came a long way from an immigrant from another country to basically working in a government in the UK now,
Yeah.
isn't it? So
And
yeah, definitely came a long way.
and I don't know how comfortable you are with sharing, but would you like to share how far you've come in the last 5 years compared to your humble beginnings, like being an
Yeah.
immigrant in 2005 and stuff like that?
So yeah, I mean, basically, my parents when they moved in, they were basically immigrants as well.
Yeah.
So we weren't exactly. I mean, we were well off in terms of the standards in India, But in terms of UK standards, that's really not much. So we sort of just lived in Camden with a shared ownership sort of property there.
Yeah.
Eventually, we sort of moved out when we got a good offer on that place, and we moved out to Feltham, here in the suburbs of London. And yeah, I mean, basically, my parents sort of did their bit as well, so to live a comfortable life.
Yeah.
So it's my duty to sort of work myself up and build my own sort of wealth.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I've been sort of thinking about how I should go about doing that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because there's different levels of wealth in this country, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when going to Sixth College, I spend plenty of time thinking about it in my free time rather than studying. So I mean, my theory is there's like multiple levels. I mean, the first level would be basically living off the government, really, through benefits and that sort of thing. I mean, that's what I wouldn't call financial freedom. That's like you're at the mercy of the government.
And so that's not even 9 to 5. That's below 9 to 5. That's literally the government's feeding you a baby spoon, basically.
Yeah, so you're basically put on a leash by the government, and you're at their mercy. If they don't decide to feed you one day, you're pretty much gone, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's level sort of 1, I guess. Level 2 is basically where I am at the moment, isn't it? Where you do your daily grind, try to make some savings by sort of giving up your time to provide a service. And yeah, that's sort of what level 2 is, trying to make ends meet. Yeah. And what I'm sort of aiming for is sort of level 3, where you sort of you build up that savings and you sort of try to build sort of a plan, isn't it? Yeah. On how to sort of get a disposable income where you sort of don't end up giving up your time to sort of make money.
Of course.
But instead you sort of put in money and you get your time back, and plus you sort of make extra money on the side to sort of have a sort of improve the quality of life that you're basically living.
So it becomes a point where you're basically working because you want to, like you're not forced to work, ideally.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Because ideally, not everyone wants to. I mean, you do want to do something in life, isn't it? You just don't want to doing nothing all day, isn't it? So, I mean, for me, that's where financial freedom comes. Is basically being able to do what you want to do, whenever you want to, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the best way to describe that would be basically being able to do a job that you like. And not for an employer or anything like that, but for yourself as an independent person, like a freelancer.
Yeah, self-employed, basically.
Yeah, and basically having some other sources of income as well coming in, so you're not at the mercy of someone.
Yeah,
so that's what for me is like what true financial freedom is. So able to have enough disposable income and not being at the mercy of anyone to sort of live the life the way you want to live, isn't it?
Of course.
And this is not about being a millionaire. Being a millionaire is a luxury. I mean, that's level 4. For me, like financial freedom is at level 3. And level 4 is just the highest standards you can get, isn't it? That's where you get your millionaires and billionaires.
So realistically, level 4 is the useless stuff, like
that's the extras in life, basically.
Having too much money, driving a fancy car, going on multiple holidays a year. That's
So my goal is sort of getting to that level 3 stage and being comfortable being at that stage, isn't it? So I think it's just having that realistic approach and trying to get that quality of life that you really want. I mean, that's what I would recommend every person to aim for, is to aim for the level 3, not the level 4.
Of course.
Because not everyone has the right opportunities in life to get to the level 4 stage or has the right talents and everything. So, but level 3 is achievable, so that's why I would always recommend people to go for.
Yeah, but definitely, man. Even the level 3, man, like you class it as financial freedom, and it just goes to show, man. There's a false narrative being pushed on social media and in the media that you have to be a millionaire to be financially free, and I think that's absolute rubbish.
I think for me, financially free means having the quality of life that you really want. That's what real financial freedom is. And being a millionaire, I think it's just misworded. Being a
It's just
millionaire is basically a luxury, not
that's just
financial freedom.
that's just fantasy stuff. The
Yeah,
millionaire level 4 part of it.
yeah, yeah. So for me, I'm trying to sort of work towards getting a property, being mortgage free, and
Yeah,
then basically getting the knowledge I sort of acquired working to build sort of
yeah,
businesses, or small time businesses, not like a major business,
of course,
just as like a freelancer or sole trader,
of course,
and
and
having sort of one or two, three set up, because so you're not at the mercy of one business plan. Because as you
mm,
know, circumstances can change, especially like with the pandemic.
yeah,
So you shouldn't. So you should be always be able to diversify your income and not rely on one egg in one basket. You should have at least three eggs in three different baskets.
definitely,
So
man.
yeah,
And
so that's what I'm sort of
so would you?
making
So,
plans on doing.
of course, and
Yeah,
I'd say you're close to that level 3 stage, man.
yeah. I'm working towards it. It's still quite a way off though, isn't it? But yeah,
Definitely, but
definitely.
obviously, would you be happy sharing your age with people sort of know my age?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm basically 24. I
Yeah,
think I'm only older than you by a few months, isn't it?
about 6 to 8 months, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. And yeah, and so far, I mean, I started working at the age of 18, and I
Mm,
worked in the public sector because personally, I don't like working for private employers and
yeah.
like help build other people's dream. I
Mm,
rather just provide a service that helps other people. So that's why I prefer public sector than private sector.
yeah.
And during those sort of 5 years I sort of worked, I managed to save 100 grand. So I mean, that's I made a lot of sacrifices to achieve that number.
So people, listen to that, man. 6 figures in 5 years, man. It's achievable,
Yeah,
you know.
it is possible. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
earn a fancy salary or anything like that. I just do a normal public sector job. It's
Like you,
just you need to
like you
take
earn like a
steps.
normal salary that somebody that's been in the company for 3 years can attain, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So
So, so yeah, I mean, you just have to be conscious in terms of how you spend your money,
yeah,
and just don't go on like everyday drinking, clubbing, weekend trips. I mean, it's important to have fun, but
yeah.
keep it at a moderate level
Mm,
and really spend money with a close eye, because
yeah.
those savings, they're gonna sort of be our sort of lifeline towards getting that financial freedom status. Because eventually you would need to buy a property, and the last thing you want to do is get a 25-year mortgage.
Mm,
And it's like really having that planning in mind.
of
For
course.
example, for me, I wouldn't want to buy a property in London because it's going to cost you a fortune.
Cost you a fortune. Yeah.
Yeah, especially around my area, properties go for 500,000. I
Mm,
mean, we're looking at the grand scheme of things. 100
mm,
grand is a lot of money when it coming to buy a decent semi-detached property in London,
yeah.
my area, which costs 500,000. So
Mm,
for me, in order to get to that financial freedom quicker, I'm going to look out elsewhere,
yeah.
up north, maybe where properties are slightly cheaper. So
Uh,
I can just basically buy my property out straight and then
of
become
course.
mortgage free within
And
a couple of years.
who
And that's
put
my first step.
who pointed you in that direction?
That's probably going to be you, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah,
So
man.
yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely take advice from your friends and family and see like what their thoughts are, and sort of don't be stuck on this social media thing where say, oh, living in London is the best. It's not. I mean,
Trust me, it's
what's
really
the
not.
best is it's getting that quality of life that's really important. Like if you buy into that trap in marketing, all you're going to end up doing is paying a mortgage for the rest of your life for the next 25 years, which is something that you really don't want to do.
Definitely, man. And honestly, like your story, like it's inspiration. Like coming from an immigrant background to where you are now. Like
Yeah,
I don't know any other 24-year-old with 6 figures in their saving. You know what I mean? Like you've really done well. Like I commend you.
yeah,
Congratulations on that one. And I just wanted to touch so on the last Financial Freedom podcast, we spoke about like you need to invest, you need to go into business. Financial
yeah,
freedom means you're not at the mercy. Your
yeah,
income covers your bills, and you have more left over, basically.
yeah,
But realistically, from your story, man, like there's a lot of there's a lot of falsehoods, false information being shared on YouTube or being shared on Instagram, social media. You see a lot of these people where, oh yeah, if you want to be financially free, invest in this stock, invest in that stock, invest in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Or
There's loads of stories like that, isn't there? Yeah.
or they're like, oh, start this business, but they're pushing out a sort of magic pill.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
But
Like, just to be clear.
yeah, but the reality is, like, if you don't come from like I'd say middle class background or a wealthy background, the reality is you're gonna have to start your journey. You're gonna have to get a 9 to 5. That's the sad
Yeah.
reality, you know.
Yeah, and not everyone has the safety net like that, isn't it, to take those sort of risks as well.
Yeah, not
So
everyone has the safety net to just dive into business because at the end of the day, we've got bills to pay. You might have
yeah,
children. You might have
yeah,
commitments. You know.
yeah. You have to start at the level 2 stage, isn't it? Where you have to do the 9 to 5 grind to make that savings, isn't it? To jump to the level 3.
Definitely,
So
and a lot of these sort of gurus, they won't tell you that, man. They'll just say, yeah, just invest in real estate. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But they don't tell you
yeah,
the nitty gritty, man.
yeah. Like the fine steps, isn't that that's involved in there?
Yeah, and
Like you can just say to someone, yeah, we invest in real estate, but how do they go about doing it? Like, what are the steps? What's the first thing they're going to be doing? And that's the thing I really don't like about some of those people, isn't it? They don't give you the finer details on how to achieve that. And the reason why they don't give it is because it's not possible to do it. It's not easy. And there is no secret ingredient for achieving that unless you come from a wealthy background
yeah,
and where you have a safety net to take those risks. Because not every risk is successful. It requires a lot of planning and thought to go into it.
yeah, and so the harsh reality is like you're gonna have to either get a job and save up if you want to invest
Yeah.
into something, or you have to get a loan, which you're basically committing yourself for a large time period. And
Yeah.
nowadays, even if you get a loan, you still have to come with good credit. You know?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, not anyone. The bank is just not going to hand you a loan without any sort of proof that you're going to be able to sort of pay that back, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So back to that sort of nitty gritty starting from scratch aspect. Yeah, let's say somebody that gets a job, but I'll tell you, man, most people that work a 9 to 5, they're literally they're on a hamster wheel, man.
yeah, pretty much. You'll be doing that 9 to 5 grind for the rest of your life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially if you're in London, because most people who do that 9 to 5 grind, they think they have to do this job for the rest of their life so they can pay off their mortgage, isn't it?
Yeah,
Or to get on.
but like you'd obviously say it yourself, like, yeah, it's all good you're working a 9 to 5 to begin with, but I feel like the bit where they're messing up that keeps them on the hamster wheel is probably the lifestyle choices.
Yeah, the lifestyle's definitely like going clubbing, not saving your money, like drinking, going on this frivolous like weekend trips. And yeah, it really all adds up really, and it doesn't in the long term doesn't really do you any favors because you're gonna forget those experiences later down the line, and then you're gonna sort of regret doing those things, isn't it?
Yeah,
Because you still in life when you're 50, 60, you're still doing that grind, and and you have like nothing to show for it, isn't it? At the end of it,
of course,
so yeah,
and people
time goes and you don't get it back really. So
you
yeah,
literally don't get time back. So let's say if you're like myself or you're like Joaquim, where you have to start at the level 2 level working a 9 to 5. Yeah, cool. You have to sacrifice that time. But what are you sacrificing it towards? Are you sacrificing it towards the bigger picture, or are you just like on a hamster wheel like most of the population, spending their last paycheck on on a holiday, spending their last paycheck at the bar? You have to have that sort of discipline aspect.
yeah, and that's really vital in terms of getting financial freedom, especially if you're starting off from the level 2 position. And nearly 99% of the people will be at that sort of level, unless you're the lucky 1% to be to have been getting everything handed to you, isn't it?
Yeah, you get a small, like your parents give you 100 grand to start your business type of thing.
Yeah, pretty much, isn't it?
Yeah. And yeah, I just feel like people like start at the 9 to 5 position, and like I don't. To be honest, I think people don't think it's possible to save. Maybe
Sorry, continue.
Yeah, maybe they're too caught up in the social media lifestyle. Maybe they're brainwashed, but like I just feel like it's so easy to just get your paycheck and just spend it by the end of the month, and then
Yeah,
when your next paycheck comes in, you're literally back to square one.
yeah, pretty much. And you haven't really made any progress, isn't it? That's just 1 month gone down the drain, isn't it? With nothing to show for it.
You haven't made any progress, and there's a bit of advice like I've applied in my own life, and I always tell people, like, literally take 6 months to 2 years of your life. You don't have to, not you don't have to be a hermit and not enjoy. Yeah, you can enjoy yourself, but have that balance and discipline. But
Yeah.
literally 6 months to 2 years of your life is enough to save a decent amount of money.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, I mean, I still go on holidays. I still buy my laptops and whatnot and clothes.
Yeah.
But I do keep a close eye on where I spend the money and where not to spend the money. And yeah, it's still like really being careful with the finance, isn't it? That's really key.
Definitely, and for me, this sort of lockdown has been a testament of it, because you can't really go out, you can't really go on holiday.
Yeah.
And the last
Yeah, I was just going to say, I noticed that I saved lots of money as well by not traveling to work now, isn't it? And just working from home. That just shows you how much money you save.
Just little things like that. How much did you pay traveling to work?
I paid £60 a week. So that's around 240 I save just in a month. And that's excluding lunch as well.
And just on travel. So you spend, what, £240 in what, a month? So
yeah, £240 a month, and
so over a year, how much? That's over $3,000,
Yeah, pretty much, isn't it? So 300 a month, isn't it? So 300 times 12, what is that? So 3,600, isn't it?
And that's 3,600, and that's literally money coming out of your salary when you really look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, that's just what lunch and travel, isn't it? And you think that's not a big thing, but look how much more of your sort of income that takes up.
So that's a minute aspect. Just travel, that's meant to be essential. Yeah. So just look at it as well. So think about somebody that will go out every weekend and spend £100 a weekend.
Yeah, on top of that.
On top of that.
Yeah. So it just leaves you with nothing, isn't it?
So with that, if you spend £100, you're easily doing £4,000 a year. Yeah. And then already, if you add that travel, that's nearly £10,000 out of your savings already.
Yeah, and not only that, most people, they have this image of being financially sort of independent, not financially, of just being independent, and they sort of move out of their parents' houses.
Yeah.
And try to rent in the big city. And you find that they waste so much money on rental income. It's just ridiculous, isn't it?
So that's just people chasing the image, basically.
Yeah, we're chasing an image of independence. I mean, I wouldn't really recommend anyone to leave your parents' house
until you're financially stable.
Yeah, until you're financially stable, because you can save a lot of money by staying with your parents, especially when it comes to rental income. Because the rent is ridiculously high. I mean, you work in the property estate, you would know better than anyone, to be honest. But especially in the city, like even if you're flat sharing, it's going to cost you at least £500 to £600 a month. Like just sharing a room with someone, I think.
And that's the thing people don't realize, man. Like back in the day compared to now, inflation has been a bugger, man.
Yeah. I mean, prices of living things are like going up, like food, travel, and everything. But you'll notice that inflation in terms of job pay, that's still stagnant, and it hasn't really gone up a lot.
Yeah, so the prices go up, the quality of life goes up, the real estate goes up, but the bloody salaries stay the same.
The same, yeah. Just to give you an example, I mean, council tax has gone up by 5% this year. Travel has gone up on the TFL by at least 2-3% as well this year.
£60 a week,
but public sector pay has been frozen.
Yeah.
And so your pay isn't exactly in line with inflation, isn't it? So yeah, that's why you have to be really careful on how you spend your money.
Yeah, definitely, man. And yeah, like we use you as an example. We use that example of like 6 months to 2 years is enough to change your life. Like in your case, 5 years, you've got six figures now. You managed to save six figures.
Managed to save six figures, and that's on a public sector pay as well. So I reckon most of people probably earn more than me as well, isn't it?
Yeah, man.
And if I manage to save that much money, it's really no excuse for other people to save that much as well.
And people think about it, man. Like 5 years, when you really look at it, it's not really a long time, man. Was it so easy to squander 5 years, man?
Yeah, 5 years it just went by in a flash. To be honest, I started at 18 and I'm just 24 now, and then yeah, that's like 5 years of work.
But
That's
even
not
though
bad.
that's 5 years out of your life sacrifice, you've got
Yeah,
something substantial to show for it. Because
yeah, show for it, isn't it? At my age as well.
think
So
about it, man.
yeah,
The only people in their early 20s that can brag about, oh, I've got six figures, are probably, like you said, the silver spoon,
yeah,
the musicians, successful musicians, that are like one in 1,000,
yeah,
or like
probably
professional
less than that.
athletes, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's a testament right there that if you've got that sort
yeah.
of discipline with your savings, that's very achievable, you know.
Yeah, especially with now that you mentioned in terms of the musicians, the athletes, those are like probably one in a million type of people, isn't it?
Yeah, like
It's very rare that you're going to be born with that sort of specific talent, isn't it? That
1 in 100K people, one
yeah,
in a million people, man.
yeah. So yeah, don't put your hopes on that. Like you'll have that certain type of talent. Not everyone does. So
So
you like people like us have to be a little bit more practical and realistic about our approach.
exactly. So and people like you've lived this. So we're not YouTube salesmen selling a fake
Yeah,
dream. You're talking from your experience and what you're currently
yeah,
doing, and I'm talking from my experience and what I'm currently doing. You know.
yeah,
So we're sort of practicing what we're preaching. You know.
yeah.
So like let's
And yeah, you was to say.
Yeah, so let's say now, like we've gone into the level two, like you have to work in the 9 to 5 if you're not from a baller family, and let's say you've taken out the time, you've worked 2 to 5 years, you know, you've disciplined in your saving. Now you've got the six figures. Let's say now, now that you're saving even more as well, you're leaning towards a sort of level three aspect, which is what the investment.
Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing I would recommend anyone to invest in is once you have that saving is get yourself a house.
Yeah.
But not just any old house, like make it a decent house, but not in a ridiculous area like London where it costs you $500,000. Like just aim for a standard 3 bedroom semi-detached or detached house, probably up north where it's like relatively cheap. So
Okay.
I was probably looking for myself, so for example, let's give Leeds as an example.
Yeah.
You can buy yourself a 3 bedroom semi-detached house with a driveway for around 175. And if you have, yeah, and Leeds is a sort of city area as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you put 100 grand deposit in, you'll only be paying a mortgage on a 75 grand on basis, isn't it?
And you won't be stuck in a 25-year life sentence. You'll be able to pay it off in about 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, 5 to 10 years you'll be able to pay it off. And considering that Leeds is a major city, there's also job opportunities available there as well.
Yeah, there's universities, job opportunities. There's basically what you get in London, you get it up there, you know. Because London isn't the only city in the UK.
Yeah, London isn't the only city. There's an airport there as well, so you can travel abroad and do whatever you want. So basically, that would be your first step, is to invest in yourself and get that mortgage-free status.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the first thing. I mean, that in itself is probably be, as you said, like probably take 5 to 10 years to be mortgage-free, isn't it?
But you see how you're saying buy up north. Are you saying live up north, or are you saying get a buy-to-let investment?
I would say live up north as well, because you eventually will need a place to live, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you can't stay with your parents all day, isn't it? So I would say, move out of London. Don't get caught up in the sort of image of London.
And it doesn't have to be all the way up north. It could be in the suburbs. It could be somewhere near Cambridge. It could be somewhere down south. You know, it doesn't have to be miles away. You know.
Yeah, I mean, other places are just as good. It's just that London is overhyped, and you just need to see past that, isn't it? I mean, live long enough in Leeds, and you'll probably end up loving the city. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely, man. And so let's say, imagine you're 25. Yeah, no, you're not 20. You're 24. So let's say right now, if you wanted to, you put a deposit down on an apartment up north, and you pay. Let's say
for a house,
or a house, apartment, or a house, whatever. And let's say you move up there to live. And you work, obviously, your job is sort of transferable.
Yeah,
You will eventually get a pay rise, but even if you're working on your standard salary now, think
yeah.
about it, people. In 5 years' time, imagine 30 years old being mortgage free.
I mean, that takes people a lifetime to finish, isn't it?
It takes people a lifetime to be mortgage free, but the majority of people, like you said, they chase the London image. London is the be all end all. You know,
Yeah,
we're
and
talking in terms of the UK. It could be you could be in America. You think the city's everything. You know.
yeah, and that being mortgage free is probably one of the biggest, well, British dreams, I would say, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
man.
that's
Yeah, man.
the first step towards being financially independent, isn't it?
And
And yeah, even though you move in Leeds and say your salary is less in the grand scheme of things, the amount of interest you would be paying on a 500,000 property down in London would way sort of
will
be
outweigh it.
over the top than the little sort of cut in your salary that you'll take working up in Leeds. So
So
yeah, and it'll save you a lifetime of debt, to be honest. So yeah,
let's say but think about it, man. Being mortgage free at 30, or in the grand scheme of things, if you're thinking about financial freedom,
yeah,
just that thing of, oh, I don't have to pay a mortgage or I don't have to pay rent.
yeah,
That's a major step. You're basically
yeah,
financially free in that aspect. Because
free. Yeah, I mean, all you'll be doing is paying utility bills, and that's about it, really, isn't
utility
it?
bills and everyday
That's the standard.
expenses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the standard things that you use, like water, council tax, electric, and yeah, and that's about it, really, isn't it? What else do you pay? And yeah, and your
And
standard
after that, it all
living
comes down to
expenses.
lifestyle. So,
Yeah, and your car expenses at best, and
mm,
that's about it. I mean, that's probably not going to cost you more than 500 quid a month, and then the rest of the money is just your disposable income for you to spend the way you want to spend it, isn't it?
yeah. And to
Which is
think about
like,
it, man, think about it, let's say if it's somebody in their early 20s, man, like
yeah,
starting a 9 to 5, 5 years of discipline, like I wouldn't say be a hermit, but
yeah,
save the most you can. Then after 5 to 6 years, you'll be able to put a deposit in a house. And we're talking from a grounded, realistic perspective. Say you buy a house up north, anywhere that's really affordable. You don't look at London as a be all end all, and
yeah.
you're mortgage free by 30. That's when you think about it, man, that's quite realistic. That's quite
Yeah, it's achievable, isn't
it's
it?
achievable. You know,
Yeah, it's not like a pipe dream, and there's no like
there's no
amazing sort of
gimmicks.
investment strategy or anything like that. It's just
Yeah,
being realistic about your approach, isn't it?
like, there's no
And
gimmicks
just
involved. There's no like,
yeah,
oh yeah, buy my course. I'll give you magic pill.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
just realistic approach, isn't it? There's no hidden methods or anything like that. And
And
yeah, and best tips I would give to anyone is probably get a house rather than an apartment.
because of the
So
freehold aspect.
yeah, it's a freehold. So then that's like what real sort of freedom is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not being on a lease on an apartment, isn't it? Paying service
Mm,
charges or anything like that.
yeah.
Definitely go for a house. And yeah, and houses are probably going to be in the future a rare commodity, isn't it?
Especially
Because
now, man, with
yeah,
inflation and the property market. I feel like because of the pandemic,
yeah,
they've done this stamp duty holiday to sort of tempt people to
yeah,
spend their money.
yeah. And later down the line, houses are going to be more expensive because now they're not building houses anymore. They're just building apartments.
They're just building
So
apartment complexes.
yeah, so that's why houses are going to be a rare commodity. And if you buy something now for 175 in the city in Leeds, later down the line, that's probably going to be turning to 350, 400,000. I
Yeah.
mean, that's how it was in London, isn't it? At one point, King's Cross was just like a prostitute town, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
It's
where
funny you
houses were
mentioned
going
that, man,
for,
because my sort of family's from King's Cross, so
yeah,
I know exactly
no,
what you're
no,
talking about.
no offense to you, no, but like in the, was it 1900s or whatever, I mean, houses over there were going like for 25K, 15K, something like that. But look at it
Mm,
now. I mean, King's Cross is one of the most expensive areas in the UK, isn't it?
mm,
With being like having offices from Google and stuff like that.
yeah, man, it's
And
crazy.
even a one bedroom like or a studio flat will go for 3-4 million there.
Yeah, it's
So you can see
ridiculous,
how
man.
places can just inflate in terms of values, and it just like that.
Definitely, man. And I just feel like the
So
UK, because we've got an ever-growing population, I feel like
yeah,
sooner or later they're going to make property,
yeah,
owning real estate impossible to own.
yeah. So make the most of the opportunity and get a property while it's cheap. Because later
Mm.
down the line, you'll see, my goodness me, I saved so much money with buying this property for 175. when it's now cost like $500,000 now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happened to all these people in London, isn't it?
What have
When
you?
they bought their properties like 10 years ago, like when we were, or maybe 20 years ago before we were even born, they bought their properties for really cheap, like in the financial crash in 2008. Properties were going up for 80, 60 grand. And look at it now, they're going for $500,000, 750,000. It's like ridiculous.
Let's say your investment. Have you already gone for it? The one up north.
I would go for it, but not at the moment. I just want to save a little bit more money before I take that step.
So you want to have less debt, basically.
Yeah. I just want to have less debt, basically.
So
for me, I mean, my goals are a little bit strict. I mean, for a normal person, 100,000 up, 175 is good enough.
Yeah.
But I just want to get a little bit more closer, so I can just finish that. We get that mortgage-free status within 5 years.
So but here's that thing. Another thing that people need to realize, man. The less debt you are, basically.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I mean, your salary might be lower in Leeds by a couple of thousands. But in the grand scheme of things, when you look at the interest involved in buying $500,000 property in London, that little cut in cost will have big impacts down the line, isn't it?
The only real benefit of buying in London is the bragging rights of, I've got in London, you know.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all there is to it.
The only benefit, because the rent is pretty much similar, you know.
And to be honest, you'll probably just end up paying a lifetime of debt just for a small apartment house, which you can probably get in other cities for less than 50% of that price, isn't it?
Let's talk about let's delve more into the financial freedom aspect. Let's say you own your house now and you're reaching that mortgage-free state. So that's one big checklist of the financial freedom list. That's ticked off, one big major thing ticked off. So let's say now you want to transition from your 9 to 5 into like being self-employed or having your own business.
So that would be the next step, isn't it? I think financial freedom is 2 steps. First is getting your mortgage-free status. The second step will be sort of being self-employed and having multiple streams of income coming in, basically, to support you.
So that's the 2 aspects of level 3, I'd say.
So that's the 2 aspects you need. And once you get that sort of the income bit in, and you're pretty much set, and you're firmly sort of fixed into the level 3 position, isn't it?
But even in that aspect of, get your multiple incomes, people still fall for that fallacy of, just dive into a business. But there's a strategy, there's this involved, there's that involved. But realistically, man, like, let's say you own your property outright. At this point, let's say you're 30, you're getting there. And so let's say, what choices have you got? You've got the choices of running a business, or you've got choices of buying a buy-to-let property. You've got multiple choices, whatever you choose to invest on. Let's say
I would say, you've got multiple choice at this stage, isn't it? Once you're mortgage free. I mean, you can go to the buy-to-let route where you have to probably save a little bit more money later down the line and buy another cheap property elsewhere and just rent it out and have an income coming through there. I mean, that can be one source of income coming in, isn't it? One of your streams.
So let's say...
but you could also have another one, so you're not just reliant on your tenants to pay you, isn't it?
Exactly. So let's say even you don't choose the buy-to-let route. Let's say you choose to start a scalable business, and let's say the first year it might not be paying you £100 million, you know. Even then, like, even when you get your first investment, whether it be a business, whether it be a buy-to-let, whether you go into stocks and shares full time, like the worst thing you could probably do is quit your job.
Because I mean, one thing you should know is once you become mortgage free, you would have a lot more disposable income on your hand, and you'll also have a safety net. Because I mean, at this point, you don't have to worry about losing your job, because even if you lose your job, you don't have a mortgage to pay towards, just your normal standard living sort of wages, so living expenses, I mean. And I mean, with that safety net in mind, it's a lot more easier to take risks in terms of like starting up your own business. And these would be like small scale businesses. They're not going to be like some massive businesses. I mean, that's not what you should be aiming for, because scaling from, I mean, you can always go for the massive business, but that in itself will take time because all these major corporations, they started in like the 1800s. I mean, they didn't just start overnight.
So
So
even
it
the
takes some.
corporations, they're in a way they're generational wealth, you know.
Yeah, and like Coca-Cola, I mean, that started in the 1800s. I don't
Yeah.
know about McDonald's, but I think that started in the
Early
1950s or
1900s,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, those companies, they made wealth like over generations of time. Like, so yeah, I mean, it's not possible to have a major corporation under your belt within your lifetime. I mean, that's
Mm,
something that's probably going to be done by your future generations, or yeah, or someone in your lineage, but that's probably not going to be you.
mm.
So yeah, so you really shouldn't think on that scale at the moment.
Yeah,
We can always try to see how
again,
things go.
it comes down to don't chase the lifestyle. Don't,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna magic start my business and magically I'm gonna wave a magic wand and
yeah,
then I'm gonna be able to afford a Bugatti Veyron. You know,
yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't
I
work that
mean,
way realistically.
yeah, yeah. Those big organizations, those are like the level four where you need to have the right opportunities
Yeah.
put in place with you, like by God, basically, to
Mm.
make those things sort of work, isn't it? Or you just need like insane amount of time and effort put in, like that out sort of goes out of your lifetime, basically.
Mm. So,
So yeah,
would you recommend then starting your business when you've got your living expenses covered, when you've bought your house mortgage free and that sort of stuff?
yes. So I would say go for the business once you're sort of mortgage free and you
Mm.
have enough income to sort of have like you have enough disposable income to sort of save
Yeah.
to start the business. Because that's
Mm.
one of the main things about being mortgage free is that you have enough disposable income, isn't it? Which is like really important.
Yeah. And
Because that's not something you would have if you're sort of having a 25-year mortgage or you're trying to buy a property in London. So that disposable income is like a big difference, even
mm,
if you earn sort of less salary compared to working in London to
exactly.
somewhere in Leeds. So yeah, once that disposable income will sort of give you the opportunity to save money to start that scalable business of yours.
Yeah.
And in terms of sort of what business you would try to do, I mean,
Mm,
that's up to the person's discretion, isn't it, in terms of what they're
exactly.
passionate about. I really wouldn't recommend anyone starting a business in something they're not familiar with.
Hmm.
For example, I wouldn't expect you to like start a business in project management. I mean, your expertise lie in property, isn't it? And
Mm,
you have experience dealing with properties.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
for someone like you, I would be expecting you to
Yeah.
start like a real estate business or
Um,
providing a property management service like on a sole trader
so
basis,
when
isn't it?
you so like, but you're talking in terms of me because I've got
Yeah,
experience on literally all sides of the fences, man.
fences, yeah.
Like,
And yeah, I mean, for me, it'll be, I mean, I've got experience in resourcing. So for me, I'll be
mm,
sort of dealing with recruitment styles, isn't it? So
mm,
maybe getting in touch with small businesses, asking them, do you need this person? I can help them look for it, run the
yeah,
process for them. And that's sort of going to be my sort of business I'll look
yeah.
into. Because that's
Um,
where some of my background comes in.
it goes
So
back
for
to
me,
the. Sorry, man. Continue.
yeah. So for me, it'll be for viewers to like sort of look into like what sort of experience they've built over the years
Yeah,
before they got mortgage free status, what kind of 9 to 5 job they did, and
yeah,
really sort of find what the strengths and what of sort of the jobs they've done
yeah.
and how they can sort of build a business on the experiences
Of
they've built
course,
upon.
because
Because
there's
you can't just do a business about something you're not familiar with. You have to be passionate or have knowledge in the industry you're trying to open a business in
of course, man.
if you want to succeed.
Because there's a rule that I sort of live by, and it's
Yeah,
called the 10,000 hour rule, which is
yeah,
realistically it's you need 10 years experience in a certain industry to become like a master or like a quote unquote expert at it.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
yeah, even at my stage, I think I only have 3 years of
yeah,
recruitment experience. So I'm still not ready enough to like start my own recruitment business yet.
yeah. So like
But yeah,
that 10,000 hour rule, you could read it in books, so you could see it online. You think, oh, really, what's
yeah,
that all about practically? Because we're all about practicality on this sort of podcast.
yeah,
The way I'm applying that rule is I'm gaining my knowledge and experience from from my job or from stuff I do behind the scenes, all linked up with real estate.
yeah,
And when it's time for me to sort of get my own wings and do it myself, I've already got that experience from the 9 to 5 that I can
yeah,
transfer it into the business.
yeah. So those 9 to 5 grinds you're doing is not going to be a waste.
You literally,
And
it's purposeful.
yeah, And especially now considering that you're going to be sort of have that 10-year stopgap in terms of trying to finish off that mortgage of yours. I mean, that 10 years fits perfectly with the 10,000 hours that you just mentioned now, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you can just, during that 10 years time where you're trying to finish a mortgage, just build that experience in something that you really like. And so when it comes down later down the line where you're mortgage free and you're able to take risks and you have the safety net in place, you can sort of go ahead and try to open that business that you sort of dreamed about, isn't it?
Yeah. And but by the way, people, we're not saying you have to be mortgage free to start a business. We're just recommending that you've got a safety net before you take big risks.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because you can't just leave your job next day saying you can start a business straight away, because you need to have something to land on if things go wrong.
Yeah, no one
imagined. Yeah, no one imagined that a pandemic would start, and for say anyone who started a business without a safety net during this period, they would have probably fallen through and gone into a very bad situation, isn't it?
Yeah, man.
So yeah, it's always good to have a safety net in place, and to make things a little bit easier for yourself, isn't it?
And going up to the sort of levels of financial freedom, like it goes back to that sort of fallacy they push on YouTube, man. Start a business, you'll be a millionaire 1 year. People need to realize as well, man, that if you really want to be successful in a business, the entrepreneur grind is more. It transcends 9 to 5. It's more than 9 to 5, you know.
Yeah, you'll be working, for example, 12 hours a day, or even 24 hours a day. Yeah. Or even 24 hours a day, depending on the nature of your business. Because in the end, the success or failure of the business is reliant upon you when you start your own business.
Yeah.
So it's up to you whether you want to make it work or it's going to fail. If you want to make it work, you need to be willing to put in the effort to make it work. And that's going to require more than a 9-to-5 job, because an unusual 9-to-5 job, if you don't come in one day and you call in sick, someone else is going to be there to do your job, but not over here. This is your sort of business, and it's just reliant upon you.
So whether you fail or succeed, it's all down to you now.
Yeah. So that's your own business, isn't it? So that's why it's really important to find what you're good at and what you're knowledgeable in the industry and you're passionate about.
I know I keep mentioning these YouTubers, but it's like they push out some sort of fallacy. Oh, selling cat cushions is the way to go.
Yeah,
and people.
I see somewhat about drop shipping on Amazon as well, isn't it? It's like, it's not alright, man. Like they're just putting, and they're selling. I mean, their main goal is like basically selling their webinars and strategy books, isn't it?
Mate, their real income is selling these dummies courses, man.
Yeah. Do you remember that one guy I mentioned to you who was doing like property courses on YouTube?
Like that.
He's like a major example of what not to do, isn't it? So that guy was. Do you want to give context? I think you probably know more about him than I do.
Yeah. So the thing about Tai Lopez is, his whole entire brand is based on being a guru.
Yeah.
And at first he sold a mindset course. And that was affordable. That was about £50, and it makes you more.
And he did it by putting out YouTube ads where he shows his story, and putting a massive library behind it.
He'd bombard you with YouTube ads of his like Lamborghini and books and stuff. And I won't lie to you.
He doesn't own any of those. They're just rented for them here.
Just marketing, man. Marketing is all about presentation.
Yeah.
I won't lie to you, man. The books he recommends, they've helped me with along my journey. But the overall message he's putting out is shady.
Yeah. Because I think one of his viewers caught him and he wasn't able to answer like a simple property question. And then people start to sort of question his legitimacy.
Yeah.
And I think ever since then he just disappeared off YouTube then, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't know if he's still.
So let me just summarize Tai Lopez. So Tai Lopez, he put out this image of, I'm this millionaire, I'm going to teach you my secrets. All he really did was he read books and he put them into courses and he sold the courses.
Yeah.
And he basically built his wealth from the courses, and now he probably is a millionaire because millions of people have fallen for it. Yeah,
millions of people fallen for his marketing, and they bought into his courses, and bought his books and everything, and yeah, he turned into a millionaire like
And
that. I mean, he was. I mean, he sold himself as saying that he's already a millionaire when he wasn't. And
so
after selling all his webinars and books, he actually turned into a millionaire by scamming
so he
thousands of
basically
people.
he faked it until he made it, basically.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's the best way to put it, isn't it?
The thing about Lopez now he can probably practice what he preaches now that he's a
Yeah,
millionaire, but
yeah,
what people got to
but
realize is he's full of BS at the beginning, and he
yeah,
literally made his money from selling courses.
yeah, yeah. But the only thing I'll point out is that not everyone has the talent to scam that many people.
Yeah,
I mean, like people only realize it later down the line. But
mm,
I mean, to scam people just like that requires a talent in itself, isn't it?
yeah, man.
So yeah, I mean, no, I mean, plus I wouldn't really feel good if I managed to make my money through scamming other people.
Yeah, man. It's
So
no, there's
I
no
mean,
morals
each
to it,
person,
man. There's
yeah,
no morals.
there's no, yeah. I mean, it's all up to you really how you decide to make your money. But yeah, I really wouldn't recommend anyone scamming people to get rich. Just do it through good means
Do it
and
through good
provide
means.
good
So,
service.
so back to that sort of financial, that overall financial freedom. There's,
Yeah,
if you want to start your business, yeah, there's loads of people saying, yeah, do drop shipping. So imagine you the last 10 years of your life, 5 to 10 years of your life, you've made your money from, let's say, being a chef at a restaurant,
yeah.
and now you're seeing some YouTube advertisement saying, oh, quit your 9 to 5, do drop shipping, and you know nothing about drop shipping.
But yeah, that's just ridiculous, isn't it?
You'd be a
If I was that, yeah.
you,
Sorry, yeah, you're gonna
yeah,
say?
you'd be a complete and utter buffoon to quit your job and be like, yeah, I'm gonna start dropshipping. I know nothing
Yeah,
about it, but I'm gonna buy this course and I'm gonna do it. Bro, it's
yeah, like
stupid,
that.
man.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? But considering when you're a chef and you have like 10 years of experience doing it, if it was me, I would just say I'm gonna open like a restaurant or
Yeah,
something like that.
the
Maybe start a
realistic
home kitchen. Yeah,
the realistic aspect will be, oh shit, I've got up 10,000 hours as a chef. I'm gonna
yeah.
transfer my 9 to 5 into a business.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you don't have to just go up and buy a restaurant or something like that. Just start working from home to begin with, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do a couple of recipes, like sell it out and see like if people are interested in your food.
Mm.
Some people will be, they'll buy it, and if they like it, you'll slowly grow your business over time, and eventually, yeah, you'll have what you dream for, isn't it?
Sure.
So
And you never know, man. Uh, when you achieve that level of financial freedom of now, you've got your safety net, you've got your
yeah,
business. Like if you really stick it out, you could reach that level 4, which is like lifestyle.
yeah, yeah. Let's just take that chef as an example, isn't it?
Mm,
Say you're a 9 to 5 chef, basically. You work in a restaurant.
mm,
You like you was a shoe chef for earning like 30 grand or something like that.
mm,
You do your savings, you save the 100 grand, and then you move up north, up in Leeds or something like that.
mm.
You buy a cheap property as a normal three bedroom semi detached house with a driveway.
You pay off
You're
your
happy with the
mortgage in a
lifestyle
shorter
there.
amount of time.
Yeah, within like short amount of time,
Yeah.
and you've managed to find a decent job in Leeds because of course there's going to be restaurants out there as well.
Because you've
And
got
yeah,
that experienced chef, that's transferable skill.
skills, yeah, and eventually you pay off that mortgage of yours. You're sort of mortgage free. You have disposable income coming in. Use that disposable income as more savings to eventually sort of fund your restaurant business.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you basically would sort of start with opening like a home kitchen and a
Yeah.
home kitchen business and sort of selling food from your home. You basically make food from your home and then sell it to people by delivering in the local area.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually expand it by sort of making a partnership with Deliveroo or Eat or something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, basically sort of build your way up and just expand from there, isn't it?
Mm.
And eventually you'll find a position where you're making more money with that sort of side business than your main job.
Yeah.
And then you just quit your main job at that point and you have a safety net. And then, yeah, you just carry on with that, something you're passionate about. And at one point, you'll just realize you've saved enough money to open your own restaurant. And yeah, that's it.
No,
You have
but
your own little business then.
exactly. But realistically thinking, man, like just owning a property outright, that's
Yeah.
basically a major. You're practically
Uh,
financially free by that point.
yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, for me, what is it opens doors for like lots of opportunities. That's all it is. It gives you a door to lots of opportunities with limited risk.
But
So
what I'm saying at that
it's,
point, basically, you're in a better position than most people in the country, and you're
yeah,
that's a massive box ticked off on your list. And
yeah, yeah, pretty much, isn't it? I'm guessing not many people are mortgage free in this country, are there? I think nearly majority have a mortgage. So yeah, I mean, yeah, one good thing about London is the high wages, so you can actually save quite a lot of money in London,
yeah,
which makes it easier to move out in the suburbs later down the line. I mean, that's what majority of the actual people do, isn't it?
yeah,
Who are sort of well off in the suburbs area.
hmm
You will find that most of those people actually lived in London first, and then eventually they sold their house for like 500,750,000 from London,
yeah.
just for a traditional normal house for 200 grand, which can get you a lot in suburb area
Imagine,
without, and you
imagine,
have that much money left over,
yeah.
isn't it?
So imagine you lived in London back in the day. You sold your place for
Yeah,
700k, and you move to
yeah,
the suburbs. You buy probably a bigger property for
yeah,
300k, and then you've
yeah.
got another 400k left over.
You're
Do
left over,
whatever you
and
want with it.
yeah, I mean, you can start your own business, so you can grow it, or you can
Mm,
just enjoy your life and travel the world, do
man.
whatever you want. I mean, quality of life all depends on you and what you want, isn't
Of
it?
course, man.
So
So
I say, like, people want to start a business. Maybe not everyone wants to work, isn't it? They just want to have a good time. So
mm,
yeah, it's your own passion, isn't it? I mean, for someone, it might be better if they get a buy-to-let property
yeah.
for them because yeah, they just want to
Then
study in coming in and they just want to travel the world.
exactly, but then not everyone's into property, so they'll have to
Yeah,
explore the other avenues that you can invest in.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so
yeah. I mean, the main goal of the business is eventually it can stand up on its own,
yeah.
where it can run without your absence,
And
and then eventually
that's where the
that gives
passive
you
income.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's where it gives you the time to just do whatever you want, travel the world,
yeah,
enjoy your life. I mean, that's what we're here on this planet for, isn't it? If you have a certain amount of time on this planet, you might
yeah,
as well have fun while you can, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, not do it now in this 9 to 5 grind stage. Do it once you sort of get to the level 3 stage, isn't it?
exactly. So
The level 2 stage is where you have to put in the time and effort in. And level 3 is where you sort of enjoy it, isn't it?
yeah,
So,
and surprisingly enough, there's people that are in level one stage that would just rather get paid from the government and stuff
yeah,
like that. We're not,
yeah.
I mean, we're not criticizing them people, but that's only a
You
limited
need,
lifestyle, man.
yeah, you'll never go past anything. I mean, if you're at level 1, unless you don't have the willpower to move to level 2, you're going to be stuck in that lifestyle for the rest of your life,
Yeah,
which
man.
is quite depressing, to be honest. Like, I would want everyone to move to the financially, work towards the level 3 status, to be honest.
And then
Level 4 is like for special people, but at least level 3 is where we should
it's,
all sort
it's
of aim to
attainable.
be here. Yeah, and it's attainable. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the point, isn't it? It's not
Mm.
like it's impossible to get to. It just requires a little bit of hard work and effort
And so even
and
so, let's
discipline
say
as well.
sorry. So let's say the level two stage, which is the 9 to 5 stage, mate.
Yeah,
Some people are stuck on that stage for the rest of their life, man.
yeah,
That's where the discipline comes in. You know.
yeah, yeah. And it's better to do it when you're young as well, isn't it?
Mm.
Because
Mate,
I mean, getting to level 3 it takes time, isn't it? Like
yeah.
you mentioned, like 5 years to 10 years to finish off their mortgage, isn't it?
Mm.
So I mean, for some people, it might be already late if you're in their 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
But if you're still like in your 20s, like us, like do it
Mm.
now. Like don't waste time. The sooner you do it, the better. So I mean, I'm fortunate enough to start when I was 18, isn't it? I
Mm.
mean, because of my college experience, I had a lot of time to think about these sort of things.
Yeah.
And that's why I sort of managed to sort of start taking these steps to work towards the level 3 goal. I mean, that's where my final aim is, isn't it?
Yeah, man.
So,
So let's sort of summarize people. So the main lessons people could take from this is like first of all, don't shy away to start from the bottom and work a 9 to 5
yeah,
because realistically, no one's gonna wave a magic wand and give you 50 grand, 100 grand. You're gonna have to work for it, you know.
yeah,
So first step,
definitely.
I'd say start a 9 to 5, and then so get to that level two, like, and then grind it out. Be patient, be disciplined, and eventually your savings you're gonna see them grow. Not all of a sudden because nothing happens overnight. Over a long
Yeah,
amount of time, you know.
yeah. I mean, it took me 5 years to get to that.
Mm.
So yeah, it's not going to be an easy grind. So yeah, you have
It's
to be
not
patient about
like
it.
nothing good happens overnight, man.
Yeah.
Then after that, yeah, you're slowly building towards that level three, which is level three basically means you want to have as less bills as possible, and you want to have that safety net.
Yeah.
And then
And during that time, you'll also be building up your
you're building
experience
up your
to,
10,000 hours of experience.
yeah, to get to that business stage. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah, man. So once you're at that level three, you're literally free to live a comfortable life as long as you don't have to chase the bloody Lamborghini Ferraris on Instagram. You can just think, yep, I've got my house paid off. I can work whenever. I can work a part-time job. I can work whenever I want to. At that point, you can live a comfortable life.
yeah,
But if you're shooting for more, then you gradually, rinse and repeat the same process from level two, and then invest in the assets. Then
yeah,
the more you build the assets, the quicker, the more you'd reach to the level four, which is I'd say that's what would you call that, wealth? Would you call that
yeah. So,
lifestyle, wealthy
so for
lifestyle?
me,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, once you sort of become mortgage free, you live a comfortable life,
yeah.
but you're still not financially free till you
Hmm.
have that sort of income flowing into you.
So that's when the
So
assets
for
come
me,
in. Yeah,
yeah, so that's when your business plans, sole trader. So yeah, basically your assets sort of come in, and
mm,
that basically get on a small scale is what it sort of gives you the financial freedom and
yeah,
sort of firmly puts you in place into the level three position comfortably.
mm,
And the level four is basically going further with that assets and like making them bigger. And making them bigger, I reckon only very few people can achieve
yeah,
because they require soft talents and networks.
yeah.
And I would say out of 100, probably only one or two people can achieve that. So, I mean, I wouldn't recommend people going for the level four. I'll say leave it to the next generations or maybe for your kids or something
So
to
build,
do.
so build up your level
Build,
three. Once you
build the
have
future for them to do go to work towards level four.
sort
I
of
mean,
build on,
I would recommend you. Yeah, I would recommend you just enjoy life at level three
mm,
and leave the level four to your kids to sort out. I mean, that's what I was thinking.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
because I mean, if you go towards level four, you won't have time to enjoy life. So yeah,
that's the thing, though, man. Like,
it is possible to achieve. It's not like it's not
yeah,
impossible.
no, but that's the thing,
But
though. When you're leaving it to those kids, you're sort of that's where the values and life lessons come in that you have to pass
yeah,
down.
yeah, because you also have to make sure you leave enough time to sort of look after the kids and whatnot, isn't it?
I know,
Teach
but
them the right values, or
exactly.
else they're going to squander everything that you worked
Uh,
for,
let's
which is the
say,
last thing you want, isn't it?
let's say, looking back at your sixth form days,
Yeah,
you had what, children of millionaires, of high income people
yeah,
into that school. Realistically, man, those kids, man, I know they're gonna do well either way because they've already got that
yeah,
massive foundation behind them. Do you
yeah,
really think those people are thinking of, yeah, but when I'm 30, I'm gonna manage daddy's business? They're probably thinking of the fucking 10 trips they've got planned in the year, man, and the
yeah,
the, the
pretty
next
much.
the next sports car they're gonna buy.
Yeah, pretty much, isn't it? Oh, what Lamborghini am I going to buy today? Or what BMW am I going to buy next year? Or what trip am I going to go
Yeah,
with my friends in the private school I'm going? I
yes.
mean, that's going to be their main priorities, isn't it?
So that all
That's why it's
comes down
always
to
important
values,
to,
man.
yeah, that's why it's always important to take time to sort of guide your kids and whatnot, isn't it?
Like,
So they make the most of, yeah, the time.
and teach
So
them
yeah,
the importance of hard work because, like,
yeah, yeah,
let's say you're wealthy and then the hard work aspect fades away. That's all your
yeah,
wealth squandered, man.
yeah. All your efforts gone down the
Yeah,
drain, isn't it? I mean,
yeah,
that's the last thing you want, isn't it? You want to make some meaning out of the effort you put
yeah.
in, isn't it?
It's
Because
like,
yeah, that's one of the sad things about most people that do the 9 to 5 grind, isn't it? They
mm,
just get stuck in that sort of loop, isn't it?
mm,
And they put all the effort and energy into that 9 to 5 grind,
mm-hmm.
and they have nothing to show for it, isn't it?
Yeah, nothing to
Like
show for it.
the what you want is to have some meaning for the grind you do,
Yeah,
and that's why it's important to take the time to sort of teach your kids as well. If you ever get to the level three stage of
yeah.
the meaning of that grind, isn't it?
Of course,
That's why even if I manage to get to level three, I'll make sure my kids go through that level two grind,
of
just
course,
so they know the value of the money
of hard
and how
work,
it's difficult.
man.
Yeah, and how difficult life can be. So yeah,
Yeah. So I'll give you an example, man. Let's say you work 10, 15 years of your life tirelessly to get to that level three, become mortgage free. In an
Yeah,
ideal world, because in an ideal world, people buy into London and have a lifetime commitment of a mortgage.
yeah,
Let's say if you invest in the right direction, you spend 10 to 15 years of your life to get mortgage free, and then let's say you go past the level three stage, and then you have kids, and the kids have it easy.
yeah,
So let's say the kids, but they don't have the values installed in them of working hard. So
yeah,
imagine the kids are getting sports cars on loans, uh, watches on loans, and then imagine eventually that you have to sell your house to pay off those loans.
yeah. And now imagine like a pandemic happens like
Or a
now.
pandemic happens.
Yeah, and your business or your restaurant or it has to be closed down,
Mm,
and you don't have a source of income coming in, and the government isn't supporting you. And then yeah, you have to
and
sell everything you own just to pay off those loans, isn't it?
to pay off those, they're not even ideal loans; they're just lifestyle loans.
Yeah, yeah. Lifestyle sources, basically luxuries, isn't it?
Yeah,
So yeah, so that's basically all your 30, 20 years of hard work disappeared in a flash, basically,
because
due to the
you're chasing the
yeah,
image of wealth rather than
yeah,
the reality of it. You know.
yeah, and all because of like unforeseen circumstances that you could
Mm,
have controlled in the beginning if you made the right sort of lifestyle choices.
yeah.
So yeah, so you have to be careful of those sort of things as well.
Yeah. All right, okay, man. We've gone past the 1 hour mark. So, how would you like? What would you like to say to conclude it, man?
Yeah, really, just spend your money wisely, and it is possible to gain financial freedom.
Mm,
And luxury, the stage four is a luxury. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to chase for it, go for it. But
mm,
I'll just recommend people just stick with the level three and just work hard towards so attaining that, isn't it? So, yeah,
definitely,
that's
man.
my final message to them.
Yeah, and thank you for coming on. Hopefully, the next time we record something like this, we'll be even further down our route to financial freedom.
Yeah, that would be good, isn't it?
Yeah, man. Absolute pleasure, and people. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share the video to your friends, and yeah, man, leave a comment if you learn anything. Like, what's your main takeaway from this? Yeah, tune in next time. Peace out. You know,
So yeah. I mean, I was going to mention something about jobs, but I forgot. But yeah,
def- um. So let's say you
what was I
own.
going to say? I think I already mentioned it, but yeah.
Yeah, what was you gonna say?
Hello?
Yeah,
Oh, no, no, no.
continue.
Yeah, yeah.